Our main populations are Black and Hispanic within our district. And if you look, we have 55% of our students are economically disadvantaged. So again, a very, very diverse district, and Gwinnett continues to change. If you look at the top number, our students come from 191 different countries. So when we talk about students coming in, we have actually an international center that welcomes students as they come into our district, and they speak 98 different languages. So that is kind of grounds our work and makes us think about really the students that we serve and how we really need to think about teaching and learning in our classrooms too. So before we get into us, I just want you to take a moment to think about what role currently is technology playing either in your districts, in your schools. So just take a minute at your tables and share out, because we talked about a lot of possibilities here, and we had a lot of great conversation this morning. But think about really where you are now. Would anybody like to share really quickly?
So I'll share, and it's not all positive here, because I know the majority is a K-12 setting, and so a few of us are coming from higher ed. And so as far as it playing a role for us in higher ed, I think it's playing a very positive role. From an administrative side of things, technology of course plays a really huge essential role. What we're trying to move the needle is on the teaching and learning side. Then in higher ed, of course, we have a lot of professors who are pretty set in the way that they do things. And we operate on what we refer to as academic freedom. So they have the freedom to instruct at will. So one of the things that our group here, one of our initiatives now is how do we get faculty enticed to want to start integrating more technology into their teaching and learning. And if anyone has any ideas, we're open. But that's one of the things that we're really focused on now, is how to engage in a space where it's not incentivized, it's not mandated, and they have academic freedom.
Yeah, take away tenure.
Anybody else want to do a quick share? Cobb County, thanks.
Teacher feedback in what is needed in their classrooms. They are the curriculum experts, they are the experts about their students, and so our role as technology leaders is to come alongside them, and how can we offer and create and develop and enhance the technology that we're providing you to meet you where you are and where your students are.
All right, well, thank you, Shavers, for today. So, we echo that in Gwinnett County. We're looking at, number one, how to get more voice from the teachers, even from students in the classroom, and thinking about how we can support the teaching and learning. And at Gwinnett, let me start by saying, we're not starting with the technology. It's not about the technology. It's really about the teaching and learning that's happening in our building. Just a phone call, in the middle of and that's what we start with, because good instruction is good instruction. Technology really should be used to differentiate, to accelerate, and to extend that learning for students. So that's how we look at technology in our district. And it's really grounded within our districts. All of our work is grounded within our district's strategic priorities. And you can see a lot of these priorities echo some of the comments and some of the priorities that Leilani shared in terms of the national data. So when we look at empathy for our students, how are we building for students as well as faculty that safe and secure learning environment for our students to feel not just safe and secure, but also that they belong in their learning space too. Okay, we have equity. Equity doesn't mean in Gwinnett County that we give everybody equal, but we provide each and every student with what they need when they need it. Okay, and that's our definition of equity. So think about how we can build that through that multi-tiered system of support. So what are we doing there in terms of our intentional learning resources in instruction that's happening in classrooms, as well as how are we building opportunity and access for all. Effectiveness, again, think about talent management, think about professional learning that we're offering our folks. It needs to be intentional and targeted. And then of course, excellence, okay? How are we partnering to create those post-secondary workforce learning opportunities for students? Okay, I think I have no emergency, but hopefully everything is good. Okay, so quickly let me share what we're doing in terms of safe and secure, and I bet this mirrors what's happening in other school districts too. So in technology and innovation, which is our division's name, okay, we're doing this by helping to support the physical safety of our schools. We're creating vestibules where, basically these are spaces where folks come in and they have to physically check in order to be allowed within the building. We have resources that check to see if they are on specific lists to support, to make sure that we're not letting sex offenders within our schools, murders, other things, thieves, that's okay. Security cameras, okay. We also have intercom buttons like you saw from Lightspeed. We have that for our teachers that we integrated this year so they can feel safe and secure in their learning environment too. Also thinking about virtual safety, content filtering, making sure that we are providing our students a safe and secure segue in their digital world. That's very, very important. We have a whole department within our division that deals with information security. We have a separate division actually that deals with data governance, and we work hand in hand with them to make sure that not just student data is secure, but our faculty data is secure too. And then of course, we require all of our students to have some sort of digital citizenship training. So again, teaching them how to use the internet, teaching them how to use AI. Again, that's what we're building now effectively within their lives too. And that's where you see that AI governance too. And so I know we talked a little bit about AI. In our space where we are really at the beginning. And we know we're behind the times too because we know our faculty, we know our students are already using it. But right now we're looking at our policies, we're looking at our procedures, our board policies and procedures, and our acceptable use policies to make sure that we're aligning all of those resources with the new AI that's coming in too. So we have a cross-divisional task force that's looking at that and making sure we're aligned that way. So in terms of equity, this is nice, it's not coming through very well, but what you don't see is that we're really looking at all of our resources. So raise your hand if during the pandemic you all had tons of federal funding and you were flush with money and your districts bought everything from devices, right? Raise your hand, one-to-one devices. Okay, how about resources, right? Instructional resources, tutoring resources for students, okay? So now we're out. And now we're faced with what? Budget constraints, but we're flush with all of these resources. So what we're doing now is really looking at what we have, okay? And we've been very lucky because we were able to integrate all of these fabulous things. But now we're being really intentional in terms of what we want to sustain long term and what that looks like. And that's some of the work that Bonnie is leading. And so I'm going to let her share really quickly what's going on in her world.
Absolutely. So I have recently joined the Technology Innovation team from the Teaching and Learning team. And my charge in the project that I'm working on is to really collect all of the data points that we can around our learning management system, as well as one of our other platforms that is a content repository on one side, but it has some additional technology features that are really important as well. So we started internally really looking at how we were leveraging these platforms. And then we sought feedback from the local schools. I know you talked about our support for local schools. And so we had all of our ITI coaches complete a questionnaire for us in terms of a Google form, as well as we had it pushed out to teachers. We, to date, have about 321 responses, which is just a drop in the bucket. But our ITI coaches in some cases spoke for an entire school. And what we were able to do is we have representation from over 50% of elementary and middle schools, over 70% of high schools. And we ask about each of the platforms, parallel questions, but within each platform, that level of specificity specific to features, so that we could really hear from our end users how they are leveraging the platforms, what they're actually doing. So that we can then analyze that to determine, first of all, where the redundancies exist. We know there are redundancies, but as Lisa said, they're very costly redundancies. So how do we minimize redundancies? How do we maximize our usage on the platforms that we find that we really need, and make some recommendations going forward? So we're at this point have collected all of the data. We're analyzing that. I'm working closely with Lisa's team so that we can make some recommendations, because any recommendations we make are not recommendations that can be quickly acted upon. You got to consider how do we ramp off and how do we ramp on, how do we transition and provide the training that local schools need. And so we are looking to see what the implications of that would be. But we're hoping that we're going to save some money along the way as well as really maximize the usage in the classroom for teachers. So it's really been a seek that information from our local schools so that we can better support them moving forward.
Quickly about our Build to Build program. I know it doesn't sound like it's related to technology, but it is related to equity, which is one of our strategic priorities. And if you want to take on the path of each of these, I'm the Director of Library Media Services, and I have a lot of passion for our libraries. So I'm sure that you'll see it as I'm talking about the Book Bill. In 2017, you can take it. 2017, we started the Book Bill program in response to the summer slide. And we used the United Way red hot or the hot zone map to identify areas of the county that needed extra support. In particular areas that didn't have good transportation or ways to get to a public library, because we found in the Meadow Creek district that the public library actually closed its doors because of poor attendance. But it wasn't because people didn't want to go to the library, it's that they didn't have transportation to the library. So we decided we would convert a couple of buses. It was a collaborative effort with the transportation department. We actually didn't know how to do that. We asked lots of questions in the beginning, and we just we went to Maxwell High School and talked to teachers that were doing things like building tiny houses and doing auto mechanics. We were asking all these questions, and people emotionally just really were invested in this project. So the transportation department in particular were amazing. We took 2 buses that were still functional, took all the bus seats out, put shelving in on the sides of the bus, and we launched our first summer program in 2017. And the summer program consisted of going to 90 different stops weekly. So the same stops once a week, 90 different stops, and the students could check books out just like a regular library model. And then the incentive to bring those back were at the end of the season, they would get to take 1 book for their personal library, and they could choose from a lot of books that we had choices with. We also have a school year program where schools can reserve the bus, and students can take a book home for their personal library. So, and that can be any school for any incentive program. Super popular program. We're really, really proud of it. On the other side of things, when we're talking about supporting media specialists and media clerks, we've really dug in this year to really understand the value of critically analyzing information. And what we had heard is that New Jersey actually is the only state that has implemented an actual curriculum that's a state-adopted curriculum for information literacy skills, for I believe it's career literacies and financial literacies. And so from their adopted curriculum, we took that piece that was for information and media literacy and created a milestones chart, really just to make sure that people understood or the media specialists understood at which level we're trying to hit milestones, because ultimately we want our students to be consumers of information and be able to understand what they're getting. And that includes AI-generated information, social media, really understanding. It's the same thing we've always done as librarians, just now we've got other formats coming at us. And so this was a critical piece that our Leadership Council came up with this year and rolled out. So we're really proud of this. So anyway, that's everything with media. I believe the next person is Kathleen. Okay. I know, we have to do it fast because it's 12:30 or 1:05. Okay.
Okay, hi guys. I'm a sitter, so I'm going to sit down. So I'm here to talk about the technology marketplace. Please know that this is in development. When I mean in development, I mean he is actively working on it right now. Our schools haven't even seen it. So where this started, it was a collaboration with federal programs. They came and said, these schools, they have all these federal dollars, and they need guidance on what technologies to buy. When you think about manufacturers and companies who create technologies, they create technologies in a bubble. But we have an existing ecosystem. So it's taking that technology into the GCPS technology ecosystem. Sometimes there are feature limitations. Sometimes they need specifics on how to get it connected to the network. And we just need to offer our schools guidance and transparency about how that technology functions within our school district. So from that, we called it feature technology. And we had different pieces of hardware. We talked about the product description, and then the meat and the potatoes were really those use cases where we started mapping it to our strategic priorities. Part of this guidance is if you're spending money on a piece of hardware, it can't be a one-trick pony. It needs to have many uses in teacher hands and student hands. If the use case dissolves, well, how else can you repurpose that technology to support teaching and learning? So that was really kind of the rationale behind the use cases. So from there, y'all, it's even still in design. Welcome the Tech Finder. So again, we looked at how many problems do we have and how many business needs or teaching and learning needs can we address with one solution. So Tech Finder is aimed at that. So it starts with a local school process for technology evaluation. We currently do not have a place where we post what technology has been evaluated, what's approved, what use cases are approved, and what use cases are not approved. So it's challenging to carte blanche just approve a piece of technology because that technology is going to evolve. Now the software is going to be in the cloud. It's always evolving. So instead of just saying this piece of technology is approved across everything, we're approving use cases that we evaluate against. So the Technology Evaluation, the Hardware Hub, offers transparency. They can compare and they can look, and then the local school leaders can decide if they would like to purchase based on that. Also from that, we have a local school process for hardware evaluation where they can submit items that they would like evaluated to see how it performs, and then we can again offer that transparency. Based on different factors as far as, okay, sorry, my developer has a sense of humor, so that's yeah, so previously it had fun cat facts across the bottom of the screen. So the technology marketplace really is, okay, so we're saying if it works or if it doesn't work, but now how do we know the impact to teaching and learning? What is the need? What is the value? The instructional gain against our strategic priority. So those items where they're either research-based, we've conducted local school pilots and have received feedback Those items then move into the technology marketplace, where they can search by the category, the instructional impact against the TIMS, the compatibility, like what works with a Chromebook, what works with a Windows device, and then they can click, still in development, let's hope it works. And again, just like that feature technology, they can see those use cases, the product description, and have those external links as well. So that is, in a nutshell, what we're doing with the technology marketplace.
It's fine, I didn't use any of them.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Mary Ellen West, and I get to support what I believe is an incredibly impactful and the absolute best role in Gwinnett County Public Schools. More than 25 years ago, y'all, and so y'all remember, right? Like, we didn't have email then, we didn't have laptops. Gwinnett created a role called the Local School Technology Coordinator, so that each and every school in Gwinnett had a certified teacher at the school who was working in this role. A few years ago, we decided to revamp that role. So they have a new title that I'm really excited about, and they are, so you heard ITI coach referenced. The full title is Instructional Technology and Innovation Coach. So someone said, how do we get our professors excited and wanting to use technology? In Gwinnett, we have between 1 and 3 people in a role specifically designed for just that at every single school. So every single school has a certified teacher who was put in this position because of their excitement and their innovation in what they were doing with technology to enhance teaching and learning. And they're in charge of inspiring their teachers and coaching their teachers. You have an infographic in front of you that we designed as we redid the job description and the title to help administrators at schools know how they can best implement these people. At the district level, we have a full team that supports them. So we have a boot camp when you're brought on board. We have a multi-year mentoring program. We have 2 in-services a year that run like a full-out conference. We have pathways that are 4-part, 90-minute deep dives into different topics, and we adjust those as needed, offer different ones from year to year. And then we also have bite-sized learning sessions. We go out and visit with them. We help them plan PD. And so we are there as their kind of right-hand man. We have coaches at the district level to coach the local school coaches. So we have multiple layers and levels of support and training so that they can be the feet on the ground and really get their teachers and students excited about utilizing technology.
I am coordinator of technology training here in Gwinnett County Public Schools. So while Mary Ellen West and Julie Saunders are focused on boots on the ground in the building, what I do up here at the district level is we create the training, whether that's video training, manuals, quick reference guides, online learning in our PLMS, all of those training opportunities. That's what my team is kind of charged with. So we've got 1 designer and developer, and we've got 2 face-to-face trainers that we offer face-to-face trainings for everything from our student information systems to our PeopleSoft job duties system here at the district. We do synchronous training for face-to-face, but also sometimes virtually. Of course, asynchronous with the PLMS. So we support all the districts across the district, all the departments, across the district, from HR to individual departments like the counseling department, where we make their trainings for what the curriculum is going to look like for child and teen movers. We work with the HR department for employee records training. We work with budgeting, all of those sorts of departments across the district. And where we do get to tie in with the work that Mary Ellen's team is doing in the schools, we support the training for our websites that are happening at the district and at the schools. And also some of the overlap is for a new software that we've adopted for monitoring students on their Chromebooks. So we've adopted Securely to help teachers see what their students are working on in the classroom, and our team is in charge of delivering that training. So we've got a little bit of overlap there as well.
There are 10 more slides, but there's only a couple minutes left. So does anyone have any specific questions about some of the things that we do and how we've kind of divided or anything like that from the speakers that we had? Okay.
What are your projections for the future?
Good question.
Are you going to get all the teachers you need and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, Julie.
I was say, right?
You have a microphone, Julie.
My team, any thoughts?
Collecting the feedback of the community.
I believe that having the support that's needed in schools, the tools that people need, and the personnel to help and support them as we move into the future is key. And so I think that helps with teacher retention, but also as those discussions happen in the community, knowing the level of support at every school and how that moves up to the district for media, for tech training, for the people that I support, having that technology in the school and having actual support on the ground for that, I think that that does help, both with retention and with recruitment.
Is that a one-to-one, like, so one per school, or is
There's
it one
actually,
per?
so it's at least one per school. Some schools have up to 3.
Gotcha.
It depends on enrollment, yes.
Talking about ITI coaches.
ITI coaches.
And then we have a categorical point dedicated to media specialists. And we have about 90% that are fully staffed with a media clerk, 4 media clerks, and a media specialist as well.
Yeah. I see so many districts that have one person shared by 4 or 5 schools, and it just doesn't work.
And every school also has a technician as well. So the ITI coach is the instructional side of technology, media. They run the entire media center, including the technology that is there. And then there's also a technician to handle hardware, break fix, those sorts of things.
I had 2 questions. One for the ITI coach. Are they out of the classroom and this is all they do?
Yes, unless they are a part-time teacher or part-time ITI coach. There are some that might teach half of the day and be an ITI coach half of the day, but that would only be if it's an additional person in addition to a full-time person at the school.
Thank you. And my second question was about the information and media literacy milestones. I see a portrait of a graduate. Is there a portrait of a graduate for like the whole district and then each department has created how they feed into that?
Yes, the Portrait of a Graduate has 6 competencies, and it's part of our blueprint strategic priorities. And the one competency called resourcefulness actually specifically mentions media and information literacy, I think financial literacy and technology literacy. So that's kind of where we come into play with the competencies. So that's all aligned.
And the frameworks online.
I have an observation. I love that your training of how to press which buttons versus your coaching of how to innovate in your classroom are called out separately. Sometimes that's confusing for your leaders and your classroom level people. So to call that out separately is clever.
Okay, let's give them a big round of applause.